Here are the things that only exist in Japan. Japan may well be the land of the rising sun, sushi, and samurai warriors, but it is also the land of kaiju, those oversized monsters that haunt the imagination of Tokyoites and inhabitants of large Japanese cities. The most famous of these monsters remains without question the mythical Godzilla, a figure that has become, over time, almost emblematic of pop culture. And it is not the 30 or so films that are mainly dedicated to him, including the recent Hollywood blockbusters, that will deny the incredible popularity that this monster has in the eyes of the public. But it must be said that in Japan, Godzilla is literally considered as a kind of deity, and the fans of this gigantic aquatic monster dedicate him a real cult. The mutant animal has even been named a full-fledged Japanese citizen, with an official ceremony and real identity papers, which were given to him by the Shinjuku City Hall. Godzilla is therefore everywhere, including in hotel rooms, like in this unusual palace in Shinjuku, the famous business district of Tokyo. This hotel, entirely dedicated to the huge kaiju, will plunge you directly into the bath, thanks to a life-size statue of the aquatic monster, and which must well exceed 50 meters high. So you can ask the receptionist to get you a nice suite with a view of Godzilla. But we warn you anyway that you may well have some pretty bad nightmares that night. Japan is known for its trains with ultra-dynamic designs and completely unheard of feats. The famous Shinkansen, these trains of the future capable of reaching cruising speeds of up to 400 kilometers per hour, are now history. Japanese railway engineers are working relentlessly to develop new technologies that are even more efficient and spectacular, such as the maglev, an electromagnetically levitated train that levitates on the rails and can reach crazy speeds of the order of 603 kilometers per hour. But speed records are not the only preoccupation of the Japanese, who we all know are perfect aesthetes who swear by the beauty and harmony of things, and who are also fervent followers of nature. Today, it is the whole aesthetic of Japanese trains that is being revisited with a new concept of invisible train. Yes, you heard me right. It is indeed a train that literally blends into the landscape, so that it will be almost imperceptible to the naked eye. This train will not be clad in Harry Potter's invisibility cloak, however, but rather will be equipped with a precious reflective surface, which reflects a dimmed image of the surrounding environment. In terms of unusual bars, Japan is considered a forerunner. Although paradoxically, the Japanese are not big drinkers. They will rather appreciate a good cup of tea with therapeutic virtues, while stroking, if possible, a nice little pet. This is how the first cat bars were born, which are all the rage in Paris or in other capitals, and which have the particularity to host pretty kittens for the great pleasure of the customers. But it has to be said that the fashion is no longer felines in Tokyo, but rather a more incongruous animal that certainly does not lack piquancy. Indeed, hedgehog bars are currently all the rage in the land of the rising sun, and for a little less than 8 euros, you can cuddle these shy little animals for an hour and a half. But if you are rather afraid of stings and hedgehogs are not really your favorite animals, don't worry. You can also spend some tender moments with otters and chinchillas, and you can even, if you feel brave enough, play with adorable dessert fennecs. We know about Cleopatra's milk bath, or the cold water baths of Epiphany in Russia, but have you ever heard about the noodle bath of Japan? If you think we're joking you or leading you on, just wait until you see these amazing images from Hakone Unisun Spa, located a couple of hours south of Tokyo. This spa is unique in the world, as you can literally bathe in a giant bowl of Japanese noodle soup. It is indeed in an authentic and not very tasty pork broth that you will be able to macerate a little just to boost your metabolism. This unusual thalassotherapy, which will immerse you in a bowl of noodles, is renowned for its virtues on the body and mind. But you'd better tell the cook to go easy on the Maggi, because the broth might be a little too spicy for your taste. Japan is also the country of Pokemon, those fantastic little beasts with amazing powers that we all have to catch, as the slogan says. In 2016, the game Pokemon Go, which relied on mobile geolocation and augmented reality, had been a huge global success. The Pokemon wave eventually died down over time, replaced by other equally fascinating fads. And the world has, it seems, almost forgotten about these sweet little creatures and their properly crazy universe. But this is certainly not the case in the land of the rising sun, because Pokemon are everywhere, including in the air. In Japan, you can indeed board planes entirely repainted on the theme of Pokemon and fly in the sky with the colors of your favorite Pokemon. These planes, which provide regular flights within Japan, will certainly not go unnoticed, like this Boeing 737-800 decorated with the effigy of Pikachu, and which has a charm that is, to say the least, electrifying. In Japan, accuracy is not only the politeness of kings, because the Japanese consider punctuality as an unshakable sacredness. And any breach of this immutable rule will literally be seen as a great lack of respect, even a real affront. It is therefore important not to stand up in the land of the rising sun, because the consequences could be very unfortunate, to say the least. But what can happen when your train is late and you can't arrive at your appointment on time? Well, the answer is that Japanese trains almost never arrive late, despite record numbers of passengers and goods. Indeed, thanks to a meticulous management of the network and a quality of service that borders on excellence, Japanese trains usually reach their destinations on time. Of course, since it is the exception that proves the rule, it sometimes happens that the train is 1 or 2 minutes late. In this case, the station attendants will come and apologize to you for the small inconvenience caused by this delay. But if the delay is more than 5 minutes, all the passengers of the train will receive an official certificate of apology with which they will be able to justify their delay at work or at school. Japanese restaurants are among the most famous in the world for their sushi and their specialities of raw or cooked fish, accompanied by delicious sauces and sake. But there are also many places in Japan where you can eat a lot of unusual products, if you ever want to push your gastronomic discovery trip a bit further. In Tokyo, for example, close to the busy Tamachi station, you can find a very picturesque little bistro called Mr. Kanso. If your culinary curiosity finally prevails and you enter inside the small Tokyo restaurant, the menu that will be proposed to you is likely to surprise you, because what you need to know is that they only serve canned food at Mr. Kanso. And it must be said that the choice is rather large. You can indeed find their classic tins with tuna or sardines, but you will also have the right to some unusual foods. You will be able to taste canned seafood, but also whale or walrus meat, as well as real little eels in cans. And if these unappetizing dishes are not enough for you, you will be able to dare something tastier, such as this canned bear meat from Hokkaido. If there's one place on Earth where robots are at home, it is Japan. And Astro Boy will certainly not tell you otherwise, because in this country, fond of electronic gadgets and robotics, the future is almost palpable, and reality often meets fiction, even science fiction. In Japan, robots are almost omnipresent, and you can even go to a hotel entirely managed by them. The Hen-Na, or Weird Hotel, is indeed a unique hotel establishment, since you won't find any human being around, except the other guests, of course. From the receptionist to the doorman or the room service to the housekeepers, all employees of this hotel are robots. Even the check room service is provided by a huge robotic arm at the cutting edge of technology, and the usual bellman is replaced here by a small robot cart that steers itself almost by itself and knows how to get around obstacles. The Weird Hotel is therefore probably the only hotel in the world where you are sure not to have to leave a tip. Japan is a country that has sumptuous landscapes and a nature that takes your breath away by its beauty and majesty. But to appreciate the sublime spectacle, it would be necessary to make the tour of Japan by car or motorcycle in order to be close to the magnificent places that you will cross in your journey. Of course, if you are not motorized, or if you are rather anti-pollution and you prefer more ecological means of locomotion, there is still the train. But don't worry, because in Japan you won't be bored during the trip, or have to deal with noisy and talkative neighbors who will knock you out during the whole trip. No, because in the land of Zen and meditation, the train seats are aligned towards the outside, so that you can enjoy the splendid panorama. Thus, through a large bay window you can contemplate the extreme beauty of the landscape and the breathtaking nature that surrounds you. As far as crazy TV shows are concerned, Japan is definitely the one that holds the gold medal, with its programs and game shows that seem to come from another dimension. The Japanese have indeed the gift of producing the most bizarre and improbable programs, intended above all to make people laugh, but which often turn out to be beyond human understanding or logic. But in the end, it is the poor participants in this kind of game shows who are the first victims of these absurdities, because it must be said that the producers with sadistic tendencies do not spare them any ordeal or humiliation. Blowing a cockroach in the mouth of his competitor, spreading his legs as in the era of feudal torture, or even facing an attack of grizzly bears. The poor candidates of these games undergo indeed all the outrages. On this sequence, you can thus attend a game show like Question for a Champion, but bathed in the Japanese sauce. The candidate must indeed answer a series of questions, while she is being mummified alive by a machine, which keeps wrapping her with fabric. The unfortunate candidate will finally be completely mummified, so much so that she could not even breathe and was in danger of suffocating. And as always on your beloved YouTube channel, we have saved the best for last, with this object that you will not find anywhere in the world, unless you come to Japan. This is the Coca-Cola Clear, a colorless variant of the famous Coca-Cola soft drink. This transparent soda simply does not contain caramel, this ingredient that gives taste and specially the typical color of the good old Coke. The Coca-Cola Clear is therefore flavored with lemon to compensate the absence of caramel. But if the logo and the name are the same, the taste has strictly nothing to do with the original soda. Now tell us in the comments, what do you think about these 10 completely unusual things, and that you are sure to find only in Japan. Don't forget to subscribe and click here to watch another of our videos.